Easy people, hope everyone's doing okay. We're on a little adventure in my second home almost, because I've spent much of my adult life in the town or city of Milton Keynes, and that is where we are today. We are going to take a little wander around some very interesting places within the city, and it's because Milton Keynes is actually built, or designed rather, because it's actually an old place. It's a new city, a new concept, but there are many old parts to this city, and the design of Milton Keynes centres around a ley line. Now, ley lines are natural phenomenons from the Earth's electromagnetic field. It's a bit of a grey area because they don't wish to acknowledge this electromagnetic field for obvious reasons, because it opens up a can of worms really in free energy. So let's get on and have a little wander. Before we get to the centre ley line that runs through Milton Keynes, we're just to the probably about 300-400 yards over the road from it, and it's towards the Peace Pagoda near Willen Lake, for those that know the area. I just want to show you some interesting things here, and then we'll head over the road to the Cathedral of Trees, which is where the ley line begins, and we'll take a wander through and show some interesting points along the way. Behind me you can see a pagoda. Now, these buildings are found mainly in Asia, and what is interesting about the pagodas is the design. Look at it now with fresh eyes. What do you notice? You can see how a structure like a pagoda could have had copper antennas on that would have harnessed this electromagnetic energy from the ionosphere through the ether. And this is where the concept of free energy really centers around. This is how it's produced. And pagodas that we are told just serve a purpose of Buddhism and these kind of things. It could actually be possible that these ancient buildings really were free energy devices, harnessing the energy from the ionosphere, electromagnetic energy, via the ether. So we've started the pagoda, and we're going to take a wander round to the stone circle, which mirrors a circle that we find at Stonehenge in the UK. Just a short walk over from the pagoda, we're now at the Circle of Heart's medicine wheel, which pays homage to Stonehenge. And as we'll find out later on, Milton Keynes has many references to Stonehenge, because again, it is a acknowledgement of the movement of the celestials, of the movement of the sun. This is why on the solstice, the sunrise at Stonehenge will rise at certain points in exact alignment, because that is really what the monument is all about, and this monument itself is direct homage to that. It says here in its own words, it embraces and is beyond all sects and religions, and harness the earth's powerful energies to help the development of spiritual growth. So that is an acknowledgement of this magnetic energy field that is all over the realm. And something else that we find is when we draw lines from these ancient monuments and buildings, they are all on these lines. They line up in perfect geometry. Now, the chances of that being just a coincidence are near on impossible. So I think it's fair to say that the builders of the ancient world, the architects of the ancient world, knew about this energy, this natural energy lines that are found all over the realm. So we are here at our starting point, the Cathedral of Trees in the city of Milton Keynes. Now, this isn't the start point of the ley line, it's just the focus point of where it begins in Milton Keynes, because as I said, the city of Milton Keynes has been designed around this energy line. Milton Keynes was set up in 1971, I believe, by the Milton Keynes Development Corporation, which we'll touch on later on. But there are many old parts around the area that were here long before the new city was designed. This is the layout of the Cathedral of Trees, and this is the energy line. This is the ley line that runs directly through and cuts through many key areas within the city of Milton Keynes. So we are walking directly on the ley line, and the word cathedral is a really interesting word, because When we say that, we automatically picture cathedrals all around the realm. But the word is synonymous with cathode, which again is synonymous with energy, electricity. And it is suspected that cathedrals in their original inception were harnessing this electromagnetic energy. And as I say, when you draw lines from key points all across the realm, we find that they line up in perfect symmetry. It doesn't have the same feeling just showing you on the camera. Obviously an aerial shot would be much better to show how the trees are planted in the design of a cathedral. We're going to now take a walk over to Campbell Park, which is 500 metres over the main road. And within Campbell Park there are many clues as to this energy line. We are here at Campbell Park, and behind me is a gnomon, which is the mechanism on a sundial, a shadow caster. And on Midsummer's Day, the longest day of the year, this gnomon will cast a shadow in the direction of the ley line in perfect alignment, because the ley line is actually just behind me there in the distance. Just behind me on top of the cricket pavilion, not too sure whether you'll be able to make it out, but there's a weathercock, and pointed north, south, east and west there is also an arrow pointing in the direction of the ley line, which is precisely behind me just here, which we're going to take a wander along now. So just before we walk around there, I'll give you some background information on the city of Milton Keynes. Currently inhabits 250,000 people, and the city was designed or at least incorporated in the early 70s, but there are many old areas around Milton Keynes, such as Bletchley, Wolverton, Fenny Stratford, Stony Stratford. These areas go back far before Milton Keynes was even considered. And within these places is the red brick, the brick that is made from iron ore, because this brick has the capabilities to store energy. This isn't any sort of theory anymore. They're openly admitting this stuff now. So if you're a bit skeptical, I encourage you to go in and do your due diligence, your own research, and you will see the authorities now discussing that these bricks had the potential, had the capabilities rather, to store energy. And this is what we find within these old areas of Milton Keynes, this red brick Tartarian culture. Some really wonderful areas. If you ever come to the city, the new part within the centre along Midsummer Boulevard is all great, but if you get out to some of the villages, the surrounding villages that I just mentioned, they have a wonderful character. I actually done a post about this ley line before I had a YouTube account, and there were lots of artefacts within the park back then that were written in Latin, giving us some clues about this energy line. But they're no longer here within the park, which is a little bit mysterious in its own right, because there has been a lot more awareness of this energy line, and now they don't deny it, but they don't expose its full potential. It's electromagnetic energy. They just say it's believed to be healing energy, but it is the electromagnetic energy, and it's this energy that can be harnessed through the ether, which is the empty space between us. It's not so empty. It is electrically charged, and when you can harness this energy, you have the capabilities to do so. You can store free energy. Behind me in the distance, you can see a pyramid standing at the top of the hill. This is a light pyramid. Back in the day, this used to be the Belvedere, but it was recently changed to the light pyramid, and we'll speak a little bit more when we get up there. Here we are, top of the hill at the light pyramid. A little bit out of breath, I'm not gonna lie, but this is the ley line. The ley line, as you can see, the pathway behind me, that runs directly towards the shopping centre and Midsummer Boulevard, because this pyramid and this part behind me, which is where we've just come from, just over in that direction, the Cathedral of Trees, on Midsummer's Day, the sun comes into view within our realm in a direct alignment, and I've been here to verify that for myself, as I touched on earlier about the post I'd written for social media about 6 or 7 years ago. I came up here in the morning, watched the sun come into view in our realm, and the feeling was incredible. I can't lie, it was an incredible feeling just to see this and actually not prove what I was seeing, but just that knowing, you know, that sense of knowing that this is what was going on. And this information is becoming more and more readily known. Still, many people within the city have absolutely no idea that this is the case, that this brand new city is built directly on this ley line, this energy line. Even the pyramid itself, being a light pyramid, is almost reference to illumination, the illuminated ones, the ones with the knowledge, because you know it's there if you know it, but if you don't, you just see these things and assume that they have absolutely no meaning, because down here at the placard there is no reference to this being the energy line. So we are walking now towards the shopping centre, which is on Midsummer's Boulevard, and the two roads that run adjacent to Midsummer Boulevard are Silbury and Avebury. Now this is the reference to Stonehenge, because Stonehenge is in acknowledgement of the movement of the sun, the celestials, and these street names are direct reference to that also. Avebury Stone Circle near Stonehenge is actually bigger than the circles at Stonehenge. Really encourage people, if you're ever down that way, or make a trip, to actually go down there and see it for yourself, because it really is worth the visit. And Silbury Hill, in my opinion, is a pyramid disguised as a hill, because hills just do not form in the same way that Silbury has. So pyramids are actually synonymous with electromagnetic energy, purely because of their design. And if you imagine an old world antenna, copper perhaps, as copper's a great conductor of electricity, then you can see how that would be able to harness this natural energy via the ether. Just as we exit Campbell Park, we find the celestials. Again, this is reference to the movement of the celestials above, the heavenly bodies. Just to the side of this monument we have a placard, just behind me there. Campbell Park was officially opened on 4th of May 1984 by the Right Honourable Lord Campbell of Escon, the first chairman of the Milton Keynes Development Corporation. So corporation is a Latin word, it's dead speak, the world of business, corpse, corpse nation. This is where this word comes from. And when we go into the origins of words, we really discover their meaning and start to make sense of things. Lord Campbell has an infamous past, as his family profited rather well from the slave trade. And Lord Campbell himself is a lifelong member of the Labour Party, a lord and a baron. I would suggest that he is a Fabian member, because the Fabian Society, for those who don't know, are attributed with the creation of the Labour Party. There was no Labour Party before the Fabian Society created this. Here we have an armillary sphere, which is again synonymous with the movement of the sun, and this sphere was opened on Midsummer's Day, direct homage to the ley line that runs directly along Midsummer's Boulevard. This armillary sphere is a working sundial, again reference to the movement of the sun. Lord Campbell is attributed with being the first chairman of the Milton Keynes Corporation, but a lesser known fact is that Evelyn Rothschild was also a serving chairman of the Milton Keynes Corporation from the years 1971 to 1984. Evelyn Rothschild has a long history of being involved in the upper echelons of creation of many institutions and industries. I really encourage you to go in and have a look at Evelyn Rothschild and see how prominent Evelyn is, and not only Evelyn but his family also. Behind me you can see these flat spheres that are all around Campbell Park, with the energy flow of water piercing through the flat spheres. Just an interesting fact that isn't relevant to the topic of conversation today, but Campbell Park is actually one of the largest parks within the UK, and Milton Keynes is geographically an interesting place because it sits between London, Birmingham, Oxford and Cambridge, four very prominent places within the UK. Two major cities, the two biggest cities, and Oxford and Cambridge, the two main universities, the one-verse cities. So just behind me is the Church of Christ Cornerstone, which is still in alignment with the ley line. This is the Midsummer shopping centre, and the ley line runs directly through the centre of this church, and the architecture on the church is very interesting. That could potentially be a copper dome, but it is reference to the old world architecture of the copper domes with the antiquitech on top, with the antennas that would have harnessed this natural energy, this electromagnetic energy. And just at the top, just below where the antenna part is, you can see the cylinders that run round. This is almost like a battery cylinder, which would have been able to store and let the energy flow from the point of the antenna. I'm not saying that this one is one of those buildings, but the building itself is a mirror of these old world buildings that we find. A great example in the UK would be St Paul's Cathedral with its copper dome and the antiquitech on top. We are now the other side of Midsummer Boulevard in the next estate over, Loughton, which is one of the oldest estates in Milton Keynes. But what they do with these estates is they build in the surrounding area, so the old parts really get lost. But in the centre of Loughton, still on the energy line, on the ley line, there is this All Saints Church, one of the oldest churches within the area. And all around this little centre point, it's really quaint. Lots of red brickwork, what we associate with the Tartaria culture. And as I touched on earlier, this red brick is made from iron ore, which has the capabilities to store energy. And I really encourage you to look into that rather than just dismissing it, because that's what happens a lot of the time when we speak about this free energy from the ether. Many people just dismiss it because they simply just don't have the awareness of the subject. But I really encourage you to go in and find this stuff out for yourself. Just my own thoughts here. I'm always fascinated with churches being on mounds or at the top of hills. I'm open to the idea that they go much lower, and the graves that we find dotted around the side are from recent years, as these buildings are much older, far older than we are led to believe. And the reason that the graves are added after is to simply stop the excavating, so that we can potentially see how far they go down. Just something that I've been contemplating now as I go round, and my curious mind as I wander through these places. So we'll just take a little wander close by to this All Saints Church, show you some of the older world red brick buildings, and then I want to take you to the next street over, because it's a really interesting name. So just with All Saints Church in the background, we have a really interesting property to the left of me, where this is the floor level, that side of the wall. But as you can see, just here, we have a window and we have a half door. Rather interestingly, tying in with our awareness around the mud flood and the potential that there was an event that caused much destruction within the realm. This red brick building, just 50 yards from where we just were, it's fascinating to look at, as you can see already at the top. The antiquitech. Now, they place weathercocks on the top of these buildings now, but back in the day, you can imagine a completely different antenna on top of there. As I say, copper is a great conductor of electricity, as is iron. In the ionization process, ions which flow through electricity. And this building just to the side of the church, literally 10 yards over in that direction, it's a care home, nursing home. Many of the nursing homes are old world buildings that are being repurposed today. And as you can see at the top, the huge chimney stacks, or we call them chimneys today, but these could potentially have been the antennas harnessing this free energy via the ether, the electromagnetic energy. Really, when you're wandering around your towns and cities, I encourage you to keep your eyes open, and especially at some of the nursing homes, because you know it is literally like they've all been repurposed today. That wasn't what they were originally built for. I've just stumbled across this tall pillar. Doesn't really seem to have much of a purpose. Now, some will say, but it's just concrete or stone, so it wouldn't have any potential to harness energy. But within that, we could easily have a iron rod, a copper rod, and they are great conductors of electricity. So it could easily have been used to harness the electromagnetic energy. We're just 100 yards from All Saints Church in Loughton, still on the energy line, and we find Leys Road. Is that a coincidence? I don't believe so, because this is one of the oldest parts of Milton Keynes. I believe that road name is there in direct reference to the ley line that Milton Keynes was designed, developed and built around to harness the Earth's natural energy field. So we've now just come off of the ley line, about 400 metres to the next estate over. Great home for those who have any awareness of Milton Keynes. And I brought you here because, rather interestingly, we have a red brick obelisk that is not only out of place for the estate of Great Holme, it's out of place for Milton Keynes. Is this another reference to the old world architecture, obelisks being associated with the Egyptian times, we're found all over the realm? Some of the more famous ones being Cleopatra's Needle in London, the George Washington Monument in Washington. I'll leave that one open to you decide whether that's just another clue, another reference point to the electromagnetic energy right next to the ley line in Milton Keynes. So anyway, it seems like a good place to end the video. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you have, hit the like and subscribe button, leave a comment, let me know your thoughts on the potential energy lines and electromagnetic energy, and I'll see you all on the next one. Peace out.